The gun trembled in Della Clarke's hands, tears streaming down her face as she pointed it at the man she loved. Kim Dae-hyun stood 5 feet away, hands raised, blood seeping through his white shirt from a wound on his side. His dark eyes held hers with an intensity that made her chest ache. "Tell me the truth," Della's voice cracked. "Right now, was any of it real?" Dae-hyun's jaw tightened. "Yes, all of it, especially the parts I didn't plan." "I don't believe you." He took a step forward despite the gun. "Then shoot me, because living without you is worse than dying by your hand." Her finger hovered over the trigger as rain poured around them, the abandoned warehouse offering little shelter. Lightning illuminated his face, beautiful, dangerous, devastatingly sincere. Or was it another lie? "My mother always said I'd fall in love with someone impossible," Della whispered, more to herself than to him. "She didn't mention he'd be a liar, a criminal, and the best thing that ever happened to me." Dae-hyun's expression shattered. "Della, please." Before we dive into how we got here, if you love intense romance with twists that'll wreck you, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. And drop a comment, would you forgive him? Let's find out together. St. Mercy Hospital's emergency room pulsed with controlled chaos at 2:47 in the morning. Della moved through the organized disaster with practiced efficiency, her dark hands steady as she sutured a laceration on a teenager's arm. Her natural hair was pulled into a tight bun, her mother's jade bracelet the only personal item she wore with her scrubs. "You're all set, Marcus," her voice warm but professional. "Keep it dry. Come back if you see any redness or swelling." The boy's mother grabbed her hand. "Thank you so much, Nurse Clarke. You're an angel." Della accepted the gratitude with a small smile, but her eyes remained distant. Angels didn't have the kind of past she carried. She disposed of her gloves and turned to check the board for her next patient when the ambulance bay doors burst open. "GSW to the shoulder, multiple defensive wounds, significant blood loss." The paramedic's voice cut through the din. "John Doe, no ID, found in an alley off Mason Street." Della's training kicked in immediately. She moved toward the incoming gurney, already cataloging what they'd need, but when she saw the patient, her world tilted sideways. The man was unconscious, his face bruised and swollen, but that wasn't what made her freeze. It was the tattoo visible through his torn shirt, a white tiger, beautifully rendered across his ribs. Baekho, the White Tiger Syndicate, out of Seoul. Her eyes dropped to his left wrist as they transferred him to the trauma bed. There, partially hidden by blood and dirt, was a scar shaped like a fishhook. Old. Childhood old. The room suddenly felt airless. "Nurse Clarke," Dr. Rivera snapped her back. "I need you here." Della forced her hands to steady as she cut away the patient's shirt. The gunshot wound was through and through, messy but manageable. But the other injuries, cigarette burns on his abdomen, ligature marks on his wrists, systematic bruising that spoke of interrogation, told a darker story. "She was tortured," she said quietly. Dr. Rivera nodded grimly. "We treat what we can, let the police figure out the rest. Get him stabilized." As Della worked, she couldn't stop staring at that scar. 13 years ago, Seoul, outside of Pojangmacha on the worst night of her life. Her mother had just died, her father was deployed, and she'd been sitting in the rain crying until a Korean boy sat down next to her. She never saw his face clearly through her tears, but she remembered his wrist when he handed her hotteok, that distinctive fishhook scar from a childhood accident. It couldn't be the same person. Seoul had millions of people. Fishhook scars weren't unique. She was projecting, seeing connections that didn't exist because she was tired, and this man's tattoo had triggered memories she'd spent years burying. The patient's eyes flew open suddenly, wild with disorientation and fear.
His hand shot out, grabbing a scalpel from the tray with terrifying speed. Security rushed forward, but Della held up a hand. "Wait," she said firmly, then did something that made everyone in the trauma base stop. She stepped closer to the armed man and spoke in Korean. Not textbook Korean, but Seoul street dialect, the kind you didn't learn in language apps. "You're my sanctuary. You're safe here." The words were old, from protection customs her mother had taught her. You didn't say them lightly. You didn't say them unless you meant them with your life. The man's hand trembled, the scalpel still poised to strike. His eyes focused on her face, searching, and something flickered in their dark depths. "Who taught you those words?" His voice was rough, low, speaking Korean back to her. "Someone who mattered," her heart hammering. He lowered the scalpel slowly, never breaking eye contact. "You speak like you lived in Seoul." "A lifetime ago." "Then you know what this means." He gestured to his tattoo with his free hand. "You know what's coming for me." Della's mind raced. She should call security, should let Dr. Rivera take over, should walk away from whatever this was. But that scar on his wrist held her in place, and words tumbled out before she could stop them. "I need everyone out, now." Dr. Rivera turned. "Nurse Clarke? He's stable enough for me to handle. Please, give me 5 minutes." The doctor hesitated, clearly torn between protocol and trusting her veteran nurse's judgment. Finally, she nodded. 5 minutes. Security stays outside the door. When they were alone, Della returned to treating his wounds with shaking hands. The man watched her with an unnerving intensity. "Why did you use the old words?" he asked quietly. Della focused on cleaning the gunshot wound. "My mother taught me, before she died." "You lived in Seoul." It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. "Itaewon. My father was stationed at Camp Humphreys. I left when I was 18. "What year?" Her hands paused. 2011. "Why?" The man's expression shifted, something like recognition dawning. "You have a scar on your right knee from falling off a wall trying to catch a cat." Della's blood ran cold. She did have that scar, but how could he possibly... "Who are you?" she whispered. "You were crying outside Dongmyeong Pojangmacha, September 2011. I bought you hotteok because I didn't know what else to do for a girl whose world was ending." The trauma room spun. "That was you?" "You've grown up, Della Clarke." He said her name like he'd been carrying it for 13 years. "How do you know my..." She stopped, remembering. She'd told him that night, between sobs and bites of sweet hotteok. Told a stranger her name because he'd felt safe. "I don't understand. Why were you there? How do you remember me?" His eyes held hers. "Because some people crash into your life and you never forget them, even when they're gone." Before she could respond, her phone buzzed, a hospital-wide alert. Code Silver, active threat in the building. 2 individuals inquiring about a Korean male with a gunshot wound. Dae-hyun saw her face change. "They found me faster than I expected." "Who are they?" "People who want me dead." He tried to sit up and winced. "You need to get out of here. Forget you saw me." Della looked at the door, then back at him. Every logical part of her brain screamed to walk away, but that scar on his wrist, the memory of kindness on the worst night of her life, and something else, something in his eyes that looked like her own loneliness, made her do something insane. She pulled the IV line, started disconnecting monitors. "Can you walk?" "Barely." "Good enough." She grabbed a wheelchair. "I'm getting you out of here." "Why are you doing this?" Della met his eyes as she helped him into the chair. "Because once, someone should have done it for me. Consider us even." "Della, you don't understand what you're..." "I understand perfectly. You're in danger. I can help. Everything else we'll figure out later." She grabbed supplies, stuffing them into a bag. "What's your name? Your real name?" "Kim Dae-hyun." "Well, Kim Dae-hyun, welcome to the worst decision I've ever made." She wheeled him toward the service elevator, her mind already racing through logistics. Her apartment. He'd need somewhere to recover where hunters wouldn't immediately look. Somewhere off the grid. As the elevator doors closed, sealing them in together, Dae-hyun spoke quietly. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We're not even close to safe," Della said, pressing the button for the parking garage. Della's apartment building was a nondescript structure in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where people minded their own business. She half-carried Dae-hyun from her car to the elevator, his weight heavy against her side. Blood seeped through the temporary bandaging she'd applied in the hospital parking garage. "Third floor," she muttered, jabbing the button. "Just hold on." "I've had worse," Dae-hyun said, though his pale face suggested otherwise. That's not reassuring. Inside her apartment, the sterile minimalism seemed to surprise him. Beige walls, basic furniture, no photographs. The only splash of personality was her mother's jade bracelet on the dresser and a small bookshelf filled with medical journals and exactly 3 Korean novels. "Do you hate color or just joy in general?" Dae-hyun asked as she helped him onto her couch. Della grabbed her medical kit from the closet. "I hate complications." "Then why am I bleeding on your IKEA couch?" "That's why I bought the warranty." She snapped on gloves, her nurse training overriding everything else. "Shirt off. I need to properly clean and close that shoulder wound." He complied with a wince, and Della tried to focus on the injury rather than the lean muscle and the full white tiger tattoo now visible across his ribs and side. She'd seen plenty of bodies in the ER. This shouldn't be different. But her hands trembled slightly as she irrigated the wound. "You're nervous," Dae-hyun said. "I just smuggled a criminal out of a hospital and brought him to my home. Nervous doesn't begin to cover it." I meant you're nervous because of me, specifically." Della's eyes snapped to his. "Don't flatter yourself. I'm nervous because armed men are looking for you, and I'm now an accessory to whatever you're involved in." "You could have walked away." "Yeah, well, I'm apparently terrible at self-preservation. This is going to hurt." "I've had worse," he repeated. As she worked, Dae-hyun watched her face with unsettling focus. "You hum when you concentrate. Did you know that?" Della paused mid-stitch. "I do not." "You do. Korean songs. Your mother's favorites, I think." "How would you—" She realized he'd been watching her closely, cataloging her habits. "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Noticing things, remembering things, making it harder to maintain distance," she didn't add. 20 minutes later, the wound was closed, antibiotics administered, and Dae-hyun was resting against her pillows with slightly better color. Della cleaned up, methodically disposing of bloody gauze and organizing her supplies. Normal tasks, controllable tasks. "Why were you really in Itaewon that night, 13 years ago, outside that specific bar?" Dae-hyun was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "I was following your boyfriend, Park Jin-woo." The gauze fell from Della's hands. She turned slowly. "What did you say?" "Park Jin-woo worked at his uncle's restaurant, drove a Hyundai motorcycle." His voice was flat, carefully controlled. "I know because I was 17 and running errands for people I shouldn't have been involved with. Jin-woo owed money to dangerous men. I was sent to remind him of that debt." "You threatened him?" "Yes." "He died 3 days after that. Motorcycle accident on Olympic Dano." "I know. The police said speed and rain caused the crash, but I've always wondered if he was running scared because of me, if I was the reason you lost him." The room felt airless. Della grabbed the edge of the counter to steady herself. "Jin-woo was terrified that last week. Wouldn't tell me why. I thought it was my father. He'd found out we were dating and threatened to get him deported. But it was you. I found out who he was to you afterwards, days later, when I saw you outside that bar, destroyed and crying." His voice cracked slightly. "I wanted to tell you the truth, but what could I say? Sorry, I'm part of the reason your world just ended? So you bought me hotteok instead?" Bitterness flooded her voice. "He was all I could afford. I was 17, broke and consumed with guilt." Dae-hyun met her eyes. "I owed you something, even if you didn't know it." Della laughed harshly. "A debt paid with street food? How noble." "Della, don't." She held up a hand. "You need to leave. In the morning, as soon as you can stand without bleeding out." "Understood." She walked to her bedroom, closing the door firmly. Then she slid down to the floor, pulled her knees to her chest, and let herself shake. Jin-woo's face flashed through her memory. Bright smile, Terrible jokes, the way he'd hold her hand under the table at restaurants because her father disapproved.
Gone at 20 because he'd owed money to the wrong people, and the man who'd terrorized him was currently bleeding on her couch. The man who'd also showed her kindness when she had nothing. The man whose fishhook scar had lived in her memory for 13 years. Della touched her mother's bracelet, wishing desperately for guidance. Her mother would have known what to do, would have had some Korean proverb about storms in sanctuary and impossible choices. But her mother was gone, and Della was alone with a choice she didn't know how to make. Sleep was impossible. Around 4 in the morning, she heard movement in the living room. Against her better judgment, she opened the door. Dae-hyun was awake, sitting up carefully, staring at nothing. The dim light from the street outside cast shadows across his face, making him look younger, vulnerable. "Can't sleep?" Della asked quietly. He turned, surprised. "Didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't. I wasn't sleeping either." She leaned against the doorframe. "Tell me about your sister. You mentioned her at the hospital." Dae-hyun's expression shifted, surprised that she remembered, then something raw. "Soo-yeon. She was 6 years younger than me, always singing, even when she shouldn't. Terrible voice, but it never stopped her." "What happened?" "Gang dispute in Seoul, 2019. She was walking home from her university class. Wrong street, wrong time. Caught in crossfire." His hands clenched. The men who did it walked free. Political connections, money in the right pockets. Justice doesn't exist when you're powerless. Della moved into the room, sat in the chair across from him. "Is that why you're Baekho? For power?" "Initially, yes. To find the people who killed her and the system that protected them." He looked at her. "The corporate executive I witnessed being murdered in Seoul, he was connected to the network that sheltered Soo-yeon's killers. I've spent years building connections, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment." "And coming to America?" His jaw tightened slightly. "To deliver testimony to the FBI, get immunity, new identity, start over." Something in his tone felt off, but Della was too tired to press. "That's why the hunters are after you. You're a witness who can destroy powerful people." "Yes." They sat in silence, the weight of shared loss hanging between them. Della understood revenge, understood the consuming need to make someone pay for senseless death. She'd felt it when Jinwoo died, a rage that had nowhere to go because accidents didn't have villains. Except maybe they did. Maybe Jinwoo's death wasn't as random as she'd believed. "The men Jinwoo owed money to," Della said slowly. "Were they part of the same network?" Dae-hyun hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, the same organization that protected Soo-yeon's killers ran various operations. Loan sharking, trafficking, corporate corruption. It's all connected." "So Jinwoo died because of them too, not just an accident?" "I don't know for certain, but yes, probably." Della absorbed this, feeling the old wound tear open fresh. "And you've been hunting them for years?" "Yes." "Good." The word surprised them both. Della met his eyes. "I mean it. Whatever you're doing to take them down, I hope you succeed." Something shifted in Dae-hyun's expression, gratitude mixed with something that looked like pain. "You should hate me." "I do, a little, but I also understand you. And right now, that's more dangerous than hate." "Why?" "Because understanding leads to forgiveness, and forgiving you would be stupid." But even as she said it, Della knew she was already halfway there. "Tell me about the hotteok." Dae-hyun blinked at the subject change. "What?" "That night, why hotteok specifically?" A ghost of smile touched his lips. "It was my sister's favorite. Whenever she was sad, I'd buy her hotteok from the ajuma near our apartment. Brown sugar and cinnamon. It was the only thing I knew how to offer someone who was hurting." Della's chest tightened. "It was perfect. That night it was exactly what I needed." "I'm glad."
Their eyes held across the dim room, and Della felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. This man had threatened Jinwoo, had spent years in a criminal organization, was currently being hunted by assassins. She should want him gone. Instead, she wanted to understand him more, wanted to hear about Soo-yeon's terrible singing, and what kind of hotteok the Ajuma made, and whether he'd ever let himself grieve properly. Wanted things she had no business wanting. "Get some sleep," she said abruptly. "You need to heal." "Della?" She paused at her bedroom door. "Thank you. For the sanctuary. For listening. For not throwing me out despite everything." She didn't turn around. "Don't thank me yet. We're not even close to safe." But safe, Della was beginning to realize, meant more than just physical survival. Safe meant keeping distance, not caring, not letting this impossibly complicated man with his guilt and his grief and his fishhook scar become something that mattered. She was already failing spectacularly.
Morning came with pale winter light filtering through Della's blinds. She woke to the smell of coffee, which was impossible because she never made coffee before showering. Heart racing, she grabbed the baseball bat she kept beside her bed and crept to the living room. Dae-hyun stood in her kitchen, moving carefully to protect his injured shoulder, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. He'd found her emergency stash of Korean instant coffee and somehow made it smell better than it had any right to. "You're going to give me a heart attack," Della said, lowering the bat. He turned, and despite the bruising and pallor, he almost smiled. "I thought you could use coffee. Peace offering." "You should be resting." "I've had worse," he said for the 3rd time, and Della wanted to throw the bat at him. "If you say that again, I'm reopening your stitches myself." She took the offered mug, inhaling the familiar scent. "How did you know I drink this brand?" "You have it in your cabinet, and it's what my sister used to drink. Seemed like a safe guess." They stood in her tiny kitchen, drinking bad coffee in comfortable silence that shouldn't exist between them. Della wore her oversized sleep shirt and yoga pants, hair wild from sleep, completely unglamorous. Dae-hyun looked like he'd barely survived a war. It felt strangely domestic, terrifyingly normal. "I need to call the hospital," Della said, checking her phone. 17 missed calls from Maya, her best friend and fellow nurse. "They're going to ask questions." "Tell them the truth. You helped a patient and went home." "Maya won't buy that." As if summoned, her phone rang. Maya's face filled the screen on a video call. Della scrambled, angling the camera away from Dae-hyun. "Girl, you look stressed. You never call in sick. What's happening?" "Food poisoning. Bad sushi." "You hate sushi." "Which is why it poisoned me." Maya's eyes narrowed. "Are you hiding something? You have that face." "What face?" The "I did something crazy and I'm hoping it doesn't explode in my face." Dae-hyun off-screen coughed, loudly. Maya's jaw dropped. Was that a man? "TV! Gotta go, love you, bye," Della hung up. Dae-hyun was definitely smirking now despite his injuries. "Smooth." "Shut up." But Della was fighting a smile. "She's going to interrogate me for weeks." "Sorry." "No, you're not." "No, I'm not." The moment hung between them, lighter than it should be given everything. Then Della's expression sobered. "We need a plan. Those men won't stop looking. They'll check hospitals, hotels, transportation hubs. They know I'm injured." Dae-hyun set down his mug. "I should leave tonight. The longer I stay, the more danger you're in." "Where will you go?" "I have contacts, safe houses." "With a gunshot wound and torture injuries? You'll bleed out before you reach them." Della crossed her arms. "You stay until you're stable. Then we figure out next steps." "You're risking everything for someone who terrorized your boyfriend." "I'm aware. I'm also aware that Jinwoo was 17 and stupid, that you've carried guilt for 13 years, and that Jinwoo's death might not have been the accident I believed. So yes, I'm helping you. Deal with it." Dae-hyun studied her face like he was trying to memorize it. "You're remarkable." "I'm idiotic. There's a difference." But warmth spread through her chest. "Come on. I need to check your dressings."
As she worked, redressing his wounds with gentle efficiency, Dae-hyun asked about the jade bracelet on her dresser. Della found herself talking about her mother, how she taught her Korean, made the best kimchi jjigae, had this laugh that filled entire rooms, how the aneurysm had been sudden and cruel, stealing her before Della could say goodbye. She used to say I'd fall in love with someone impossible, someone who'd make me choose between safe and true. What did you think she meant? I thought she meant Jinwoo, American military brat and Korean restaurant worker, my father furious, cultural complications. She glanced at him. Now I'm not sure. The air shifted, charged with something neither acknowledged. Dae-hyun's hand caught hers as she reached for more gauze. I need to tell you something, he said, about why I'm really here. Della's pulse quickened. I thought you were testifying. That's part of it. His jaw tightened. But the men hunting me aren't just corporate fixers, Della. One of them is Kim Jae-sung. He was the driver that car that forced Jinwoo off the road. The world stopped. What? Jinwoo's crash wasn't an accident. He'd found evidence of human trafficking connections in the Loan Shark operation. He was going to the police. They ran him off Olympic Daearo to silence him. Dae-hyun's voice was steady, but his eyes held old pain. I found out 5 years ago. I've been hunting Jae-sung ever since. Della pulled her hand back, standing abruptly. You've known for 5 years that Jinwoo was murdered, and you didn't... She stopped, breathing hard. Why tell me now? Because you deserve the truth, and because coming to America wasn't just about testimony. He met her eyes. Jae-sung is connected to the same network I'm exposing. I knew testifying would draw him out. He's arrogant. He'll come himself to clean up loose ends. So you're using yourself as bait? Yes. To revenge for Jinwoo and your sister? Yes.
Della laughed harshly. That's the stupidest, most self-destructive plan I've ever heard. Probably. You'll die. Possibly. Dae-hyun stood carefully, wincing. But they'll die with me. And maybe that's enough. It's not enough. Della's voice cracked. Suicide missions aren't justice. They're just... She stopped, pressing her hands to her face. When is he coming? I don't know exactly, but soon. They stood in her living room, the morning light harsh and unforgiving. Della should throw him out, should call the police, should protect herself. Instead, she said, we need better weapons than kitchen knives. Dae-hyun stared. What? If Jae-sung is coming, we prepare. I'm not letting the man who killed Jinwoo walk away. She met his eyes, something fierce igniting in her chest. You want justice? Fine, but you're not dying for it. We're smarter than that. Della, this isn't your fight. I made it your fight when you told me the truth. She grabbed her phone. I have a friend who owes me a favor. Former military, questionable morals, access to things civilians shouldn't have. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. Something like hope flickered across Dae-hyun's face. You're serious? Deadly. She started typing a message. Jinwoo deserves justice. Your sister deserves justice, and I'm tired of feeling powerless. She looked up. Besides, someone needs to make sure you survive long enough to face actual consequences for your terrible life choices. You're insane. I'm a trauma nurse who smuggled a gangster out of a hospital. That ship has sailed. But she was almost smiling. Now sit down before you tear your stitches. We have planning to do. Dae-hyun sat, something like wonder in his eyes. Why are you doing this, really? Della was quiet for a moment, then... Because that night in Seoul, you saw me. Not the military brat, not the girl who didn't fit anywhere, just Della. Someone hurting who needed hotteok and silence. She met his eyes. You gave me sanctuary when I had nothing. I'm returning the favor, even if you don't deserve it. I don't. I know. She turned back to her phone. But I'm doing it anyway. Over the next hours, they planned. Della's apartment became a war room, maps, timelines, contingencies. Her friend delivered a package that evening, 2 handguns, ammunition, pepper spray, tactical knives. Della handled them with surprising competence. Military brat training, Della explained at Dae-hyun's raised eyebrow. My father insisted I know self-defense. Remind me never to underestimate you. Too late, you already did.
but she was smiling. As evening fell, they ate takeout, Thai food, because Della still couldn't cook and Dae-hyun was too injured to try. They sat on her couch, containers spread between them, talking about everything except the danger circling closer. "You hum when you concentrate," Dae-hyun said again, watching her organize weapons. "Fine, maybe I do." "It's not a criticism, he searched for words. "It's nice. Reminds me there's still softness in the world." Their eyes met, held. The air turned electric. "Dae-hyun," Della whispered. "I'm asking," he said quietly. "I'm still bleeding. You're still the only thing standing between me and death. I'm asking." "Asking what?" "If I can kiss you. If I can stop pretending this is just about debt and sanctuary and shared grief." His hand came up, cupping her face with careful reverence. "Della Clarke, can I kiss you?" "Yes." He kissed her like he was drowning and she was air, desperate, almost reverent, like he couldn't quite believe she was real. Della kissed back just as fiercely, her hands fisting in his shirt, careful of his injuries but unable to hold back. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dae-hyun pressed his forehead to hers. "I think I'm going to fall in love with you. Completely. Inconveniently. Probably suicidally." Della laughed through sudden tears. "That's the worst love confession I've ever heard." "It's the only one I've got." "Say it again, without the doom." "I will love you, Della Clarke." His voice was steady, sure. "And when this is over, if we survive, I want boring and normal with you. Breakfast arguments and thermostat wars and every mundane, beautiful thing I've never let myself want." "You're bleeding on my shirt." "I'll buy you a new one." "With what money? You're supposed to be in witness protection." "I'll steal you one." Della kissed him again, softer this time. "I will love you too, you absolute disaster." They held each other in her living room as darkness fell outside, the danger temporarily forgotten. Tomorrow, they'd face assassins and impossible choices. Tonight, they had this.
2 days passed in strange, suspended reality. Dae-hyun healed rapidly, his body responding to rest and Della's meticulous care. They fortified her apartment, planned escape routes, and waited for the inevitable confrontation. But in between the tactical discussions and weapon checks, something else grew. Soft moments. Della teaching him how to properly brew coffee instead of just mixing instant powder. Dae-hyun showing her Korean breathing exercises for stress that his sister had taught him. Their hands brushing as they passed supplies. Stolen kisses that turned into longer ones, pressed against kitchen counters and door frames, urgent and sweet, and tinged with the knowledge that time was running out. On the third night, Della woke to find Dae-hyun standing at her window, staring at the street below. She wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and joined him. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "Thinking. Dangerous habit." He almost smiled. "Della, if we make it through this, what happens after?" She leaned against his uninjured side. "What do you want to happen?" "I want mornings with you. Arguments about nothing. Teaching you to make kimchi jjigae properly because your technique is terrible. My technique is fine. It's adequate at best." His arm came around her. "I want time. Just time. With you." Della's throat tightened. "That sounds perfect. But I can't promise it. My life, my world, it's dangerous. Even if we eliminate Jae-sung, there are others. The organization doesn't just disappear because one man dies. Then we handle them too." Dae-hyun turned to face her fully. "You do that? Leave your safe life, your career, everything you've built?" "This life isn't as safe as I pretended. I've been hiding, Dae-hyun, from feeling, from risk, from anything that might hurt like losing Jin-woo and my mother hurt. But hiding isn't living. You taught me that." He kissed her then, slow and deep, like memorizing. When they broke apart, his eyes were suspiciously bright. "Whatever comes, we face it together." "Together," Della agreed. They didn't sleep,
Instead, they lay tangled on her couch, talking in whispers about futures they might not have. Dae-hyun described Seoul's markets in summer, promised to take her to the Pojangmacha where he'd bought that long-ago hotteok. Della talked about her mother's favorite hiking trail, how she wanted to scatter the ashes she'd kept for 17 years, but never found the right moment. "We'll do it together," Dae-hyun said, "when this is over. Your mother's trail, my sister's favorite cafe. We'll honor them properly." Dawn was breaking when Dae-hyun's phone buzzed. He checked it and went still. "What?" Della asked, sitting up. "Message from one of my contacts. Jae-sung was spotted entering the country, Detroit-bound. He'll be here within hours." Reality crashed back. Della's heart raced, but her hands were steady as she stood. "Then we prepare." They moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons, reviewing their plan. Della called in sick to the hospital again, earning another concerned call from Maya that she deflected with promises to explain later. The apartment became a trap. Strategically placed obstacles, weapons hidden but accessible, escape routes memorized. "He'll come here," Dae-hyun said. "He has resources to track me. It's only a matter of time." "Good." Della loaded her gun with steady hands. "Let him come." Around noon, Dae-hyun's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. "Dae-hyuna," a man's voice said in Korean, smooth and cold. "We need to talk." Jae-sung. "I'm impressed you've survived this long, but hiding with your American nurse won't save you." There was amusement in his tone. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out about her?" Della's blood ran cold. "Leave her out of this," Dae-hyun said, his voice deadly calm. "She involved herself when she helped you, but I'm reasonable. Give me the evidence, and I'll make her death quick. You can watch, then join her." Dae-hyun's hand tightened on the phone. "You're not touching her." "Then we have a problem." Background noise suggested Jae-sung was in a car. "I'll be at your apartment in 30 minutes. You can come out peacefully, or I come in. Either way, this ends today." The line went dead. Dae-hyun and Della stared at each other. 30 minutes. "We could run," Dae-hyun said. "Right now. Get in your car and drive." "He'll follow. He won't stop." Della checked her weapon. "We end this here, together." "Della, don't." She crossed to him, grabbed his face between her hands. "I'm not running. I'm not hiding anymore. We face this together or not at all." He kissed her fiercely. "I love you. I love you too. Now let's kill the bastard who murdered Jin-woo." They took positions. Dae-hyun by the door, Della in the kitchen with a clear sightline. Weapons ready, hearts pounding. The minutes crawled past with agonizing slowness. 28 minutes after the call, they heard footsteps in the hallway. A knock at the door, almost polite. "Dae-hyuna?" Jae-sung called. "Don't make this difficult." Dae-hyun opened the door, gun raised. Jae-sung stood there with one associate, both armed but weapons lowered. Professional courtesy between killers. "You look terrible," Jae-sung observed in Korean, his eyes scanning the apartment until they landed on Della. He switched to accented English. "And you must be the nurse, Della Clarke. You've caused quite a bit of trouble." "Good," Della said, gun steady on him.
Jae-sung smiled. "I like her. Shame about what happens next." He looked at Dae-hyun. "Last chance. The evidence." "Here's the thing," Dae-hyun said conversationally. "I've been recording this entire conversation. You just admitted to planning our murders. It's uploading to 3 different servers as we speak."
Jae-sung's expression flickered. Bluffing. Della held up her phone, screen visible. "Recording, uploading, timestamped, with your lovely admission about Jin-woo's murder on Olympic Daero in 2011. The man's face went cold. "You're smarter than I expected, but recordings can disappear. People can be silenced." "Not if they're already with the FBI," a new voice said.
the hallway filled with armed federal agents. Jae-sung and his associate were on the ground in seconds, cuffed and reading rights. The lead agent, a woman in her 40s, approached Dae-hyun. Mr. Kim, we've been monitoring your communications as part of your cooperation agreement. You delivered Jae-sung exactly as promised. Della's world tilted. Cooperation agreement? The agent glanced at Della. Mr. Kim has been working with us for 6 months. His testimony and evidence gathering have been invaluable in dismantling a major international criminal network. 6 months? Della repeated, looking at Dae-hyun. You've been working with the FBI for 6 months? His expression was carefully neutral. Della, what else haven't you told me? Her voice was steady, but something cold was spreading through her chest. The agent cleared her throat. We'll need statements from both of you. Mr. Kim, you'll need to come with us for debriefing. Give us a moment, Dae-hyun said. When the apartment cleared except for an agent stationed at the door, Della set down her gun with shaking hands. Explain. Now. I've been gathering evidence against the organization for years. 6 months ago, I made contact with the FBI, offered testimony and proof in exchange for immunity and witness protection. You told me you came to America to testify. You didn't mention you'd been planning it for months. I couldn't. The fewer people who knew, the safer everyone was. I'm not everyone, Della's voice cracked. I'm the person you supposedly love, the person you let risk her life, her career, her freedom, to keep you safe. If you'd known the full truth, you'd have been complicit. This way, you had plausible deniability. Don't. Her hands clenched. Don't make this about protecting me. You lied. For days, you let me believe we were in this together, when you'd already made deals, already had backup, already... She stopped. What else? What else haven't you told me? Dae-hyun's silence was damning. Tell me, Della whispered. I'm not just a witness. I'm Baek-ho's third in command. I have been for 5 years. I run operations across 3 countries. He met her eyes. The organization I've been helping dismantle, I helped build parts of it. The world dropped away. You're not a reluctant enforcer seeking redemption. You're a crime boss. Yes. And coming to America, testifying, it's not about justice. It's about taking down your rivals while securing immunity for yourself. Partially, but Jin-woo and Soo-yeon, were they even real or just convenient stories to manipulate me into hiding you? They're real. Every word about them was true. But you used them, used my grief, my guilt about Jin-woo, our shared past. You weaponized all of it to make me complicit in protecting a crime boss. Della, he reached for her. She stepped back. Don't touch me. It started a strategy, he desperately said. I needed somewhere safe to recover. But then I got to know you, really know you, and everything changed. The feelings are real. I love you. That's not a lie. How am I supposed to believe anything you say? Tears streamed down her face. Which parts were real, Dae-hyun? The hotteok memory? Your sister? Us? Any of it? All of it, especially us. He was crying now too. I didn't plan you. Couldn't have. You weren't supposed to make me want to be better. Weren't supposed to make me question everything I've built. But you did. The agent knocked. Mr. Kim, we need to go. 1 minute, Dae-hyun called, not looking away from Della. You're leaving, Della said flatly. Witness protection, new identity, new life. The deal's been finalized. He pulled off his ring, black titanium with a white tiger emblem, and held it out. Come with me. What? Witness protection includes you if you want. You're a target now. They can relocate you, give you a new identity. We can start over together. Della stared at the ring like a snake. You're asking me to give up everything. My name, my career, my life, for you? I'm asking you to choose, safe or true, like your mother said. His voice broke. I know I don't deserve it. I know I've lied and manipulated and destroyed any right to your trust, but I'm asking anyway, because I love you, and the thought of living without you is unbearable. That's not fair. I know. You've lied about everything, not about loving you, never about that. Della looked at the ring, at his desperate eyes, at the life she'd built crumbling around her. Safe had gotten her nowhere. Safe had left her hollow and alone, but True had nearly gotten her killed. "I need time," she whispered. "We don't have time. I leave in an hour." "Then you leave." She met his eyes, her own swimming with tears. "And I stay, and we figure out if love is enough to forgive this." "Della," he called, "if you love me, you'll give me space to decide. Not manipulate, not pressure. Let me choose freely for once."
The federal agents took Dae-hyun away in a black SUV. Della stood at her window, watching until the vehicle disappeared, the titanium ring heavy in her palm. Her apartment felt cavernous and empty, blood-stained and destroyed. Everything had changed in 72 hours. Maya arrived an hour later, took one look at Della's face in the demolished apartment, and pulled her into a fierce hug. "Girl, what the hell happened?" Della told her everything. The whole impossible story spilled out between sobs. Jinwoo's murder, Dae-hyun's lies, the shooting, falling in love with a crime boss, the choice she now faced. Maya listened without interruption, her expression cycling through shock, fury, and something like understanding. "So let me get this straight," Maya said when Della finished. "He manipulated you, lied to you, put you in danger, and now wants you to abandon your entire life to run away with him into witness protection?" "Yes." "And you're actually considering it?" Della looked at the ring. "I don't know. Is that insane?" "Completely." Maya squeezed her hand. "But I've never seen you look at anyone the way you look when you talk about him, not even Jinwoo." "He lied about everything, Maya." "Did he lie about loving you?" The question hung in the air. Della thought about Dae-hyun's eyes when he kissed her, the way he'd been willing to die protecting her, how he'd given her the choice to walk away even when it destroyed him. "No," she whispered. "I don't think he did." "Then the question isn't whether he lied, it's whether you can forgive him." Maya stood. "I can't tell you what to do, Della, but I know you've been hiding from life since your mom died, playing it safe, keeping everyone at arm's length. This man, crime boss, liar, whatever he is, he made you feel again. That's worth something." After Maya left, Della sat in her destroyed apartment, turning the ring over in her hands. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "There's a flight to Chicago at 6 a.m., gate C-17. If you're there, we go together. If not, I understand. I'll love you either way. D." Della checked the time. 4 hours until that flight. She thought about her mother, who'd loved deeply and lost everything when she died young. About Jinwoo, who'd been killed for trying to do the right thing. About playing it safe for 17 years and having nothing to show for it but an empty apartment and a hollow life. About Dae-hyun's hands shaking when he confessed he loved her. About hotteok in the rain and sanctuary spoken in Old Korean. About choosing between safe and true. Her mother had always known which choice Della would make, even back then. Della stood, grabbed a duffel bag, and started packing. At 5:30 a.m., she stood in the airport, duffel over her shoulder, wearing her mother's jade bracelet and Dae-hyun's ring on a chain around her neck. Gate C-17 loomed ahead. He was there, sitting alone, a baseball cap pulled low. He looked up as she approached, and his entire face transformed. Hope and disbelief and devastating relief. "You came," he breathed. "I'm still furious with you, absolutely livid. You lied, manipulated me, put me in danger. I know. I might not forgive you for months, maybe years. I understand. And if you ever lie to me again, witness protection or not, I will make your life a living hell. I believe you." He stood slowly. "Does this mean?" "It means I choose true over safe. I choose you, you absolute disaster of a human." She grabbed his jacket, pulled him down to kiss her. "But you're going to spend the rest of your life making this up to me. Deal." He kissed her back, hands cradling her face like she was something precious. "I love you. I love you too, unfortunately." They boarded the plane together, fingers intertwined. As they settled into their seats, Dae-hyun asked, "Any regrets?" Della looked at him,
This complicated, dangerous, damaged man who'd crashed into her life and destroyed her careful walls. Ask me in 50 years. I plan to. He kissed her hand. Where we're going, there's a little Korean restaurant. They make hotteok exactly like the ajuma from that night. Brown sugar and cinnamon. You're such a sap. Only for you.
The plane lifted into the dawn sky, carrying them toward an uncertain future. Della dozed against Dae-hyun's shoulder, exhausted and terrified, and more alive than she'd felt in 17 years. She was almost asleep when her phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number, just 2 words in Korean. "Well done, daughter." Della's breath caught. Her mother's phone had been disconnected years ago. This was impossible. But she smiled anyway, touching her jade bracelet, and let herself believe in impossible things. 3 weeks later, in a small town whose name Della couldn't share, she stood in a modest kitchen teaching Dae-hyun, now David Chen, how to properly make kimchi jjigae. He was terrible at it, adding too much gochugaru and forgetting to let the kimchi simmer. "You're going to burn it," Della, now Diana Chen, warned. "I've had worse," he said with a grin. "If you say that one more time—" He kissed her to stop the threat, and she let him because even after everything, even with the lies and manipulation and danger, he still tasted like coming home. That night, as they ate slightly burnt stew at their second-hand table, Dae-hyun took her hand. "I got a message today. From my contact at the FBI. There's a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The organization knows I testified. They've put a price on my head. A significant one." He paused. "They also know about you." "How much of a problem are we talking?" "The kind where staying here isn't safe anymore. They want to move us again. Different city, different identities." He squeezed her hand. "I'm sorry. I know you're tired of running." Della was quiet for a moment. Then, "Where are they sending us?" "Seoul." She looked up sharply. "Seoul? As in South Korea, Seoul?" "The organization's reach is primarily American and Chinese. Seoul's actually safer." He watched her carefully. "I know it's asking a lot, going back to where everything started." Della thought about her mother's hiking trail, still waiting, about the Pojangmacha, where a boy had bought her hotteok, about coming full circle. "When do we leave?" she asked. Relief flooded his face. 2 weeks, if you're sure." "I'm sure." She stood, moved to sit in his lap, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Besides, someone needs to show you how real Korean food tastes. Your cooking is offensive." "I've had worse," he said, and she kissed him to shut him up. As they held each other in their temporary kitchen, Della felt her mother's presence like a warm hand on her shoulder, approving, encouraging, blessing the storm she'd chosen to dance in. Outside, snow began to fall. Inside, 2 people who'd found each other in blood and lies and impossible circumstances planned their next escape, their next identity, their next chapter. It wasn't the ending Della had imagined when she'd pulled a wounded stranger from her ER, but it was theirs, complicated, dangerous, and absolutely real. And for the first time in 17 years, that was enough. Della touched Dae-hyun's face, memorizing the moment. "Promise me something. Anything. Scatter my mother's ashes on her favorite trail, together." "I promise." He kissed her softly. "And we visit the Pojangmacha, get hotteok like that night. And your sister's favorite cafe." "Yes." His voice roughened. "We honor them properly. Start fresh. Build something real." "Something true," Della corrected. "Something true," he agreed. 2 weeks later, they boarded a plane to Seoul. As the aircraft climbed above the clouds, Della looked at the man beside her, former crime boss, current witness, always hers, and smiled. Her mother had been right. Some storms you couldn't outrun, some people crashed into your life and changed everything. And sometimes the most impossible choices led to the truest destinations.
Della squeezed Daehyun's hand as Seoul grew closer, ready to face whatever came next. Together. In the city where it all began, they'd write a new ending. Or maybe, just maybe, a new beginning. What happens in Seoul? Should Della have forgiven him so easily? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and hit subscribe because part 2 is coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens when they return to Korea. The past isn't done with them yet. Like this video if you're Team Della, or comment Sanctuary if you think Daehyun deserves a second chance. Share with someone who loves messy, complicated romance. See you in Seoul.